Welcome back to the Charlie Cook Cricket Podcast. Now, we have had a pretty interesting day two, an incredible century, but England are on top. Bowled Zimbabwe out for 265 and have Zimbabwe following on 30 for 2. I was actually a little bit surprised that they enforced the follow-on. I thought there was a few batters that might have wanted another go, but I think they're a little bit worried about the weather tomorrow. So let's see how that goes. But England are going to win this game. There is absolutely no doubt about that, unless it rains for the next 2 days solid and we don't get another ball of cricket. I think England probably need a session to finish it off. I'm Joe with Joe today. We're going to break down everything that happened. Joe, we'll start off by Ben Stokes being bounced out by Mazurabani. At what point do we worry about Ben Stokes with the bat? Because it's been pretty poor for the last, since Lords in the Ashes?
For me, I don't really worry about Stokes with the bat because there's no debate he's going to play. So for me, it's just like, even if, unless, like, he'd have to, I can't even imagine the run of form he'd have to go on to get dropped. Like, it would have to be astronomical because Stokes, A, he bowled very well today. I was really impressed with how he bowled. B, what he offers as a captain, as a leader, the way that kind of galvanizes the team, those kind of things are pretty irreplaceable, really. So, like, to me, even as a forget like Stokes, the batter, for me, there are so many other factors as to why he should be in the team. Even if they decided to play Bethel 3 seamers and Stokes as the 4th seamer, and then play Root and Bethel as the spinners, and Stokes batted 8. Like, to me, that's fine. Like, I wouldn't do that personally, but to me, that would be fine because Stokes has to play. You know, we can have this conversation after the Ashes, I guess, but if it's still an issue. But I also think Stokes is had no cricket. Like, this is the first time he's batted in a game since the last time he batted over the winter in New Zealand. So, look, Mazurabani is a very good bowler. I know he was a little bit expensive in this test match, but I thought today particularly bowled very well. I thought, well, he's 6'7", he gets so much extra bounce. I honestly think Stokes just got one that popped up a bit more than he thought. And, like, he's not got a history of being bounced out, really. So, for me, it's not something that is necessarily a worry. If that's India have targeted that 3 tests in and he's got out, 6 times in 3 tests by being bounced out, then maybe it's a bit of a concern, especially going to Australia. But for me right now, is what it is. Like, he's not had much cricket. I think he might play for Durham in the Blast, if not play for the Lions at some point. Potentially, like, I'm sure he'll get more cricket in, is what I'm trying to say, before the India series starts. So for me, it is what it is. Like, it happens.
Yeah,
it'll be okay.
I'm not necessarily talking about Stokes being dropped. Just
Yeah,
would like to see a little bit more with the bat from him. The thing is,
I think that Stokes is such a moments player though as well.
Yeah,
like,
he
Stokes
is.
Like, if you think about Stokes' iconic contributions, particularly the 2 that stand out, obviously the World Cup final and the Headingley Test, those 2, they're like, only Stokes would be able to do that. Even someone like Root, like, those are Stokes moments. Do you know what I mean? They would have been Flintoff moments back in the day, kind of thing. Both are moments. Like, they're in an exclusive club, those 3, in my opinion. And I think that it is what it is. Like I say, if this is still an issue in 8, 9 months' time, kind of thing, then we could have another conversation about it, I'm sure. But it is what it is to me. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, you need, you're 5 down, 6 down. You need another 100 runs. There is no other man that I would want at the crease. Than I just want Ben Stokes there. Ben Stokes is the one that makes me feel safe. Ben Stokes is the one that when we're in trouble, I would like him to do good things, and he often does. So I also thought he bowled really well today as well.
Yeah, that dismissal of first wicket was superb.
Yeah, I mean, he should have had a wicket with his first ball. If it wasn't for Joe Root dropping an absolute dolly. In terms of the rest of the batting, I mean, England just scored another 67 runs declared when Harry Brook got out. I thought Zimbabwe bowled a lot better today than they did yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it might have been, is the moment a bit too big for them yesterday?
Perhaps, yeah. I also think, yeah, maybe they were just overawed. Maybe they just overs and their legs did them good. They've not played a great deal of cricket since. They obviously had that warm-up game, but they obviously had the Bangladesh series. That was quite a while ago now. But they've got some good bowlers. Like, particularly Muzarabani, he's obviously like the leader of this. I think he's a fantastic player. Like he's one bowler who I think could like compete in any kind of like side in the, like any franchise league in the world. I mean, he's got an IPL deal, hasn't he? So I think he's a brilliant bowler, and it reminds me a little bit of Broad in a way. Just the type of bowler, obviously the extra height. Sports on day one, they were comparing his actions to Rabada. And I kind of see that as well. So, yeah, a couple of nice comparisons for him, I guess, there. And I think he's a brilliant bowler. And you could see what it meant to him to take those wickets. Even yesterday, when he'd gone for 100 and taken one for 100, he got Joe Root out. And he's talks about how he wants to get 100 test wickets. And that's a massive scalp for him. Like, I'm buzzing for him that he's got that wicket. Obviously, also got Stokes and Brook out. They're England's three premium batters. That's who you want to get out, really. Ducky as well, obviously. But in terms of just names, those are the three players you really, really want. So I'm buzzing for him, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I thought he was really good. I did put on him a bet. I put on a bet for him to take 4 wickets in the match, and it looks good if England were going to bat again, but they're probably not going to bat again. So that might have gone tits up. Zimbabwe's batting highlighted by Brian Bennett scoring 139 off 143. One of the better knocks I've seen from an away batsman in England. I thought he was sensational. Really took the attack to England, and batted really well. I mean, no one else makes it above 42 from Craig Irvine, and for him to be there on 139, he's a real talent. And with Zimbabwe playing a lot more Test cricket this year, you can imagine that he's only going to get better.
Yeah, he's obviously only young, 2021, I think, something like that. Pretty kind of like punchy player, I thought, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. He's just someone who plays his shots. He's good, better than a runner ball, at least for most of his innings. I don't think that actually was the case when he got out, but for most of his innings, he was better than a runner ball. And yeah, like I say, punchy player, someone who's going to come out and attack. And I thought he kind of rode his luck a little bit, kind of the first few, well, even the first over. Sam Cook obviously kind of angling a couple of deliveries into his pads, and he kind of took an inside edge through to parts of the leg side I don't think he was aiming for. But yeah, I think overall, I think he played brilliant. As you say, one of the best kind of away knocks I've seen in a while, probably since the Ashes a couple of years ago in Australia. I just can't think of a couple that spring to mind that I can't. I think it was a really, really good innings and a really talented player, someone who I think we're going to see a lot more of. As you say, Zimbabwe playing a lot of Test cricket now over the next kind of year or so, or this year really, and I think he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, it would be a pretty good pickup for a county side if they're looking in that area. I thought he was great today. There wasn't much else from the Zimbabwe batting lineup. Bowled out for 265. In terms of the England bowlers, we'll probably go through them one by one because I think there's probably talking points on all of them. Sam Cook today, I thought started well and fell off a bit towards the end and then got a bit better in the middle. Sometimes especially when he goes to that full length, for me it looks a little bit floaty, which obviously because he doesn't have that extra pace, it's not as slow as kind of everyone makes it out. There are some balls getting up there at 82, 83, but it's predominantly around kind of anywhere between 77 and 81 is probably where he is. What did you think of Sam Cook today?
I think his second innings spell with that new ball was like vintage Sam Cook. Like I really enjoyed watching that. Obviously, I've seen a lot of him for Essex, as many people have, you have as well, obviously. So we kind of know what he's all about. And I thought that was vintage Sam Cook. I just obviously missing the wicket. I think he's someone who attacks the stumps quite naturally, and then the movement he's able to get off the seam, and also lastly through the air as well can. That's when he kind of brings the outside edge into play, or is maybe more likely to get those OBWs. And I think in that second innings particularly we saw that, and even in the first innings with that new ball, I thought he bowled pretty well despite the fact that he was expensive. I mentioned obviously there was a couple of times where I thought the Zimbabwean batters sort of rode their luck a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, there was a couple of inside edges, especially off Sam Cook. There was a couple of outside edges that went through kind of fourth slip, went for 4. I think his opening spell of like 4 or 5 overs or whatever he bowled ended up going for like 28.
Yeah, he was very unlucky.
half of those runs were just inside edges and things like that.
Yeah, and I think his wicket was again vintage Cook, kind of angling in, just kind of that's a good length for Cook to bowl. I quite like that length for Cook to bowl. Kind of back of a length. Obviously the movement that he's able to get obviously adds that kind of extra unpredictability. And yeah, it took, I think it was the glove, wasn't it, actually, that it hit, and obviously went behind Brook. So yeah, I'm really pleased for Sam Cook that he's getting this chance. And at the end of the day, it's his first Test match. So this isn't a case where if he doesn't bowl well, I think he's going to have an even better day tomorrow. I think we saw signs of that this evening, and I think tomorrow now he's really into his groove. He's going to have an even better day. Remember, he's not played cricket for a couple of weeks. He's been with England training. Obviously, he's netted and he's played for Essex this season, but he's actually had a few weeks off playing in match. So perhaps maybe took him a little bit of time to get up to speed. But Test debuts, you can go through all kinds of emotions. So sure, it was an emotional week for him, an emotional few days. And yeah, I think we're going to see the best of him tomorrow. I really do.
Does he play against India?
I think so, yeah. I don't think he'll play all the tests. I'd love for him to play a couple. I don't think he should play at Lords because Chris Woakes is so good at Lords. I have no qualms with Woakes playing at all, particularly in England, but especially at Lords. Let Woakes do his thing there. But I think he definitely plays a couple, at least maybe 3. Obviously, it depends what happens with Jofra. They might decide to go a couple of grounds, potentially like an Old Trafford, where they might decide to go for like a quick attack, like a genuinely quick attack. Might go for a Jofra, a Tong, and then someone like a Potts kind of attack. There's so many different things that they can do. There's a lot of options. And I think Archer will come into the equation later on in the series. But I think Cook will at least play 2. I'd be surprised if he didn't, because they're going to want to manage Woakes' fitness as well. Guessing he's in to Australia. So they're going to want to kind of make sure he's ready for that series.
Yeah, I mean, Cook's probably better than Woakes, isn't he? As a bowler?
Yeah, I think that Woakes probably has that experience, though. And particularly in England, he's very good. And also he can bat. And I don't think Cook's a bad player. Like, I don't think Cook's a bad batter. He's someone who he's not going to go and get kind of 50, 60 quickly down the order, but he's a good kind of tail ender. He's going to stick in and do a good job. He's someone, if Jamie Smith was batting with him, I kind of trust him at the other end to stick in. Someone who he kind of reminds me of with the bat is a little bit like Peter Siddle, someone who you can kind of trust to stick in at the other end. I think back to that Ashes Test when Smith got that ton in 2019 at Edgbaston, and he had Siddle at the other end, just kind of sticking in with him. That's what it kind of reminds me of a little bit as a batter. So
yeah, I've seen him. He's usually the night watchman for Essex.
Exactly.
There's been times where he's come out the next day and scored a 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's terrible with the bat. I don't think he's not a Jimmy Anderson or a.
He's not as good as Woakes. Like Woakes is a genuine or as good as a genuine all rounder as you can get.
He's a bowling all rounder, Woakes. He's a good bowling all rounder. You definitely go back to the 2023 Headingley Test, and it was Woakes that saw us over the line, and you back Stokes to go and do that. But yeah, I think he plays against India. I think he gets a couple of tests against India. And then it's whether we take him to Australia or not. I guess we'll know a lot more about Sam Cook, the Test match player, after that India series.
I think he will be the guy after Woakes, though. Like once Woakes is retired, I think Cook will be that kind of go-to, like a little bit of a slow, more accurate bowler who obviously is predominantly moves the ball to the seam, can also swing the ball as well. Like he'll be very good in England, most definitely. And obviously he's not played a whole lot of cricket overseas at like a super high level. He might play club cricket or whatever, but he obviously played for the Lions in Australia over the winter and did pretty well. So that's encouraging as well. And that was a good Australian team that they fielded. So
yeah, it was. Gus Atkinson. I don't know how to explain Gus Atkinson. I made a tweet during the game, and I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if it's a case of he's very quiet and very kind of almost seems shy when he's on the cricket field and not that kind of big brash bowler that's going to go out and get you wickets. But I just never expect him to take a wicket. At no point do I ever think, okay, Gus Atkinson's got the ball in his hand. He's going to go find a wicket now. Like I do with all the other bowlers that were bowling, even Bashir to a point. I don't get it, because he's got an incredible record now and had an amazing first year of Test cricket, and he's now picked up 3 wickets in this game and hasn't been overly expensive compared to the run rate of the innings. But it just doesn't look right. Do you know what I mean?
To a point. I mean, I'm a big fan of Atkinson. I think he and Cars are 2 players I think England will be really counting on. Like, they're 2 players. I know Cars has had his injury issues, but generally throughout his career, he's had a good injury record. And I think those 2 will be bowlers England are going to count on a lot throughout the India series and the Ashes as well. So I think, to an extent, I kind of see what you mean, but I think the start that he's made, like, the stats don't lie in many ways. And I just think he is someone who has that magic to just kind of run through opponents. And I think he struggled a little bit over the winter, but I think that was because he was a bit kind of his
Cricket
workload
out.
was a lot.
Yeah.
He played a lot of cricket, and he played. I think he might have played every single test last summer, if I remember rightly. And then obviously played a lot over the winter, a lot of Test cricket. Went to the Champions Trophy and didn't really look the same bowler. And I don't think he bowled badly today. I don't think he bowled badly as well. I don't think he's a new ball bowler. Is part of the issue. I think Atkinson's better with the slightly older ball as first change. He's someone who I'd like to see kind of be given that first change role where just a little bit of something different. He's more of a seam bowler. I think he's a good replacement for Broad, actually. Kind of generally speaking, he's really perfected our wobble seam as well, which obviously Broad was like one of the masters of. So I think in that sense, I think he's a really good bowler. And I think there are better options with the new ball. Potentially someone like a Cars as well could fill that role. The Potts, we've obviously spoke a lot about Potts, obviously Wokes, Cook, these kind of guys. But yeah, I'm a big Atkinson fan, and I think as well he is a genuinely good batter. Like, he's got a Test match 100. I don't think there's too much of a debate about that. So if you're adding him and Carson to the side, I mentioned about dependability and reliability before. I think the fact that both of those can bat very well, that's something that England will look to kind of lean upon a lot. So today I thought he didn't bowl too badly. I thought, again, look, he's not someone who's played masses of cricket since his kind of long layoff. Like, perhaps it'll just take these guys a little bit of time to get back up to speed. Another person I imagine will go and play in the Blast for Surrey, get a little bit of a few more overs under his belt. And yeah, I don't think he bowled badly today at all. I don't think he was at his best. I don't think he bowled terribly by any means.
Yeah. A man who was at the pick of the bowlers, you could say. He got the best figures, 3 for 62. Shoaib Bashir. He bowled some off spin today. There was definitely some of that today. I don't get it. He takes wickets, but it never looks good. It just doesn't. There's so many bad balls, and it's going back to, I think, a thing that Swan said over the winter of you don't learn how to be a spinner until you're in your late 20s, early 30s. And he's just not there. Now, he's got a great ball in him. His third wicket was that he turned through the gate. I thought the one that got Irvine out when he was caught, but when Brooke caught it at first slip, I thought they were 2 really good deliveries. There's just like 4 other balls in the over that are too full, too short, too wide. Just doesn't feel like he builds enough pressure. And if you take him to Australia, he's going to be battered around. Travis Head is going to have an absolute field day with him if he gets anywhere near him. I don't understand how we can carry on playing him. The problem is he's taken wickets now, so you're going to be like, oh, well, how can you drop him? He's been fine. But it's just not there. Like, it's the eye testing, as I can see that he's just not good enough.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, for me, there are obviously I'm somebody who watches a lot of county cricket, and for me, there are bowlers ahead of him in county cricket. Obviously,
There's 2 ahead of him at Somerset.
Well, yeah, you've obviously got Vaughan and Leach who are kind of ahead of him. Obviously, Dawson is someone who's been spoken a lot about, and I think would fit perfectly into this England side. Then you've got the Ahmed brothers, Farhan and Rayhan. Farhan's a little bit less experienced. Rayhan's someone who's, you could argue, a genuine all-rounder, or I personally would. Then you've got the likes of Jack Carson. Like, these are all players. Tom Hartley's another one. Like, these are all players who you could argue are just a little bit more ahead of Bashir at the minute. And I don't think Bashir is, he's only so young, and I'm not trying to write him off. Like this isn't necessarily me saying Bashir's never going to make it as a Test cricketer. He's got like a good record. He's taken 50 wickets. I think I read before on Twitter, he's like the fastest for 50 wickets. Sorry, the youngest to 50 wickets for England, which is an incredible achievement. But I'm just not sure if kind of going into an India series and the Ashes, he's necessarily going to be the guy. I worry about. I mean, Indian batters, all Indian batters, generally speaking, are exceptional players of spin. I do worry that they could kind of just, not. So it feels harsh to say, but maybe even have a field day against them, kind of thing. Like, I thought he bowled well today. Like, I didn't think he bowled badly. I didn't think he was super consistent. There were a couple of balls in there that weren't great. A couple of balls that were really good, like the one particularly for me that he bowled through the gate. I thought that was a fantastic delivery. That one really kind of, and that was just coming off a bit of a layoff in the game where he's obviously had that injury. So that really kind of made me like sit up and take notice, kind of thing. And he's got that in him. But I just think, is he a little bit kind of underprepared at this stage? All spinners are able to play until their 30s, late 30s. Recently speaking, some examples obviously are Warren, Murali, Herath, Ashwin, Jadeja, Swan, Lyon, these kind of guys, all players, like all legendary spinners from recent years. Maharaj would be another one. Like all these kind of players who are like legendary spinners, and they're all playing until they're like late 30s. So bowling spin is an art that takes a long time to perfect. And perhaps Bashir will, if he does kind of get dropped from the side, perhaps in a few years' time he'll come back in and be ready again. But look, I'm interested to see. I think England have invested in him now. And again, I don't think he bowled badly today. I think the signs were there. Maybe he's just not quite ready yet. Maybe he's just not quite at the level. But I really want it to work out for him because seems like a lovely bloke. And he does show flashes of brilliance, like we saw today. I really hope it does work out for him. Maybe that's not yet. Maybe that's in a couple of years. But yeah, it'd be great to see him succeed.
I think the problem that they have is that they really like Bashir, and if they don't pick Bashir, what does he do? Does he go? Because there is a point where there isn't a county that would currently want him. There just isn't a county. Everyone thinks that their county spinner is better than Shahid Bashir. So does he get dropped from Test cricket and then go and play club cricket? Is that the next route for him? Because if he was to be dropped right now, Somerset wouldn't play him. His contract will run out at the end of the year, and they're not going to pick him up again because they've got spin options that they prefer over Bashir. I think the problem is I could get over the kind of some of the poor balls and not being that consistent and not quite being ready as a spinner if he offered you something with the bat and offered you something in the field. He doesn't offer you anything with the bat and has to field at fine leg. It's such an issue that if he was as good as even like Tom Hartley level of a bat, someone who's not good but can be okay at number 8, then that would be fine. But he's not. He's in a number 11, and can't. I think there's so many better options. There is so many better options, and a better option is just not playing a spinner. And picking an extra seamer or going with Bethel and just saying, okay, we're going to bat down to 8. That's a better option than picking Bashir for me. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. Josh Tongue, 1 for 56 from his 13 and then 1 for 22 from the 2 overs that he bowled in the second innings. I think he's great.
I'm a big fan. I think he bowled well. I know obviously tonight he was, let's say the second innings, he was very expensive, but that was more just Williams being a little bit kind of like aggressive to end the day, essentially. I don't think he bowled any bad balls necessarily. I thought he bowled really well, and he's perfect for that enforcer role that England clearly seem to want him to play. Someone who genuinely quick. He has quite I would say quite an abrupt action in the sense of he kind of gets onto you quite quickly. He kind of gets through his action quite quickly, which is quite good. And yeah, he's very consistent with his line and length. That's one thing I've noticed about him a lot from kind of watching him for the last few years for Worcestershire, for Notts, for England. He's super consistent with his line and length, and I really like that about him. And I think England have got a really good bowler on their hands here. Like, I think he's a very, very, like, a top bowler. And I really hope his injury problems don't kind of continue to trouble him, because he's someone who I feel could be like a crucial bowler for England for the next 8 years, kind of thing. Plus, so I think he's a brilliant bowler. I thought also, I know it was a no ball, his first wicket, but I've got to say, great captaincy by Stokes. Great execution of the plan by Tong. I mentioned how consistent he is. That's another thing he does well, is execute the plans perfectly. And also, what a catch by Pope. Like, I'm gutted for Pope that was a no ball, because it was an unbelievable short leg catch. One of the best I've seen in ages.
He's really good there, isn't he?
He is. Well, I suppose that's kind of like wicketkeeper instincts, I guess. Like, often wicketkeepers, you know, if you've got a keeper in the side, they'll tend to field there. He is really good there. So yeah, it was a great catch, great execution from Tonga. I think that's something that really sticks out to me, is his consistency and his ability to bowl fast regularly. Like, he's not someone whose speeds will really drop. He bowls mid to kind of high 80s very, very regularly, and never really bowls any lower than 84, 85. I think that's really good, really exciting.
Well, I don't know if you saw the graphic that Sky Sports brought up, but he has the second fastest average speed for any bowler that England have selected under Stokes and McCullum.
It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. Like, obviously, we know the quickest is Wood, and then you'd probably say he is the second quickest. Like, just generally thinking, obviously Jofra might come into the equation and knock him off second spot. But I think for now, whilst Jofra's kind of not quite there with his fitness, which I think people massively overreacted with that. It just seems like a minor thumb issue, which will keep him out for a little bit. Then he'll come back and play red ball cricket for Sussex, and before making the Indy series. Tom's like kind of the next best in terms of pure pace, and I really, really do like him. So yeah, I hope he can stay injury free, because I think England have got an absolute gem on their hands with him.
Yeah, I think he's sensational. I think he's so good. And then finally, at the bowlers, Ben Stokes just has an aura about him. Just it's going back to that Flintoff Botham thing of the ball's in his hand and something magical is going to happen. And if he can carry on bowling and stay fit and look after his body, I thought it was impressive that he only bowled 3 overs today, and didn't think, oh, I'm going to bowl a 12-over spell now and bowl him out, because that's very Stokes to do. So he did show some restraint. He didn't bowl after, I think it was tea after he had his break, wasn't it? Zimbabwe were tidied up pretty quickly after that, but I thought he looked really good. I just think if we're not going to get as much out of his batting, then his bowling has to come into it, and I thought he was really good today.
Yeah, he's got that bit of magic about him anyway. You just know, you know, Ben Stokes gets thrown the ball by, obviously, the captain, so throws himself the ball, and it just feels like something's going to happen in the game, a wicket or a chance. You mentioned, obviously, Root drops a catch off him, and then I thought his actual first dismissal was just a fantastic ball. Like, it's the thing about Stokes is he's genuinely quick. Like, obviously, he's got a little bit slower as his injuries have kind of hampered him, but a few years ago, he was regularly hitting 90 miles an hour. Like, he's rapid, and I think it's such an asset to have. He's like a game breaker kind of thing, just like someone who can just come in and flip the game on his head. And I think that's so exciting to watch. And it galvanizes the team.
It's his natural action, isn't it? His natural action makes the ball come in, and then it seams away.
Yes,
and it's so good.
It's good to watch, isn't it? It's good to watch. Like you say, like his action, like the way his arm comes across, so like angle the ball in to the right hander, then hit the seam. Like Pat Cummins does for Australia. That's Pat Cummins' natural kind of his action naturally angles the ball into the right hander. Think of that delivery you got Root out with Old Trafford. Whenever I think of Cummins, like prime Cummins, that's what I thought. And Stokes is the kind of guy who I think can do that. I like Stokes in that role. I know he's probably going to bowl a lot more over the summer in the Ashes than he did today, but I like Stokes in that role where he can just kind of come on for 4 or 5 over spells, 3, 4, 5 over bursts, really, throughout the day intermittently, and just try and buy England a wicket. Someone who can give them a lift. You know, he's someone you want to get behind. And if Stokes is bowling even as a fielder, like it's just got to be so good.
Yeah.
It's just going to galvanise you, I think. So fantastic. I think you bowled very well again. So
Yeah, I agree. We have spent a lot of time on the bowlers, but it was kind of the main thing coming into this test of who does what and who are going to be the bowlers. I know they've said about having a kind of 7 or 8 ace attack going into Australia because that's what they think they'll need and need to pick and rest and rotate because every single bowler that we have has injury problems. So I'm sure 3 of them will be injured by the time we get out there. Hopefully, it's the ones that are slightly worse. The weather's actually looking a lot better for tomorrow than it has done earlier in the week. So we might actually get a full day of cricket in tomorrow. Do England bat again?
I can't see it personally. I would like to see it because I want to see Zimbabwe be able to kind of knock those runs off. But I actually think the pitch is going to get better to bat on. But if conditions are going to be as they might be, you said obviously it's not going to rain, but it's going to be pretty overcast, pretty cloudy. It's just going to play into England's hands. And as I said earlier, I think Sam Cook's going to kind of be a lot more on it tomorrow. And I think he's going to be tough. I imagine he will take, well, not the new ball, but he'll start the day. So yeah, I love to see Zimbabwe. Sorry, I'd love to see England bat again. I'd love to see Zimbabwe make England bat again, and I'd love to see Ben Curran get runs. Like obviously didn't really do too well in the first innings, but it means a lot to him, to his family. I'd love to see Ben Curran get runs tomorrow. So yeah, I know obviously I'm talking from the point of view of England, but like personally, I would love to see Zimbabwe score these runs, make England bat again. England will still likely win the Test match, but I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Ben Curran get runs as well, and I'd love to see Muzzer Rabbani have another crack at Duckett and Crawley with a new ball. That'd be great.
Yeah, it was a little bit like the Ireland test. What was it, 2 years ago when England scored a massive score and Duckett got a century and Pope got a double ton and it was Ireland batted and then the crowd cheered because they gave England 12 to win or whatever it was. Yeah, I'd like to see Zimbabwe at least bat for tomorrow. Let's come back for day 4, and then England can wrap it up then. But I think this is all done by tea tomorrow. I'd be shocked if we're still here at tea tomorrow. 30 for 2 doesn't necessarily look great. But we will be back tomorrow to go through that. Thank you very much for listening, watching, wherever you're getting this podcast. Check out Joe. All of his links will be down in the description and the show notes. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, leave a review, leave a comment on Spotify if you can. Tell me why we're going to win the Ashes in the winter. That would be fantastic. And I will see you guys tomorrow for a day 3 recap. Cheers.